All right, we're going to do some more practice on solving special right triangles using our trig ratios. The first thing we really need to know are these two special right triangles. The first one is a 45, 45, 90. We did this yesterday with our notes. If that's 45, the other angle has to be 45 because all the angles of a triangle add up to 180. Right, so if this is, we label this as leg, this one is the same exact value because they're both across from a 45-degree angle. So they have the same value. And this is the hypotenuse. And we learned yesterday that the hypotenuse is equal to the leg times the square root of 2. That's very important. Very important that you know that. You should write that down on, hey, maybe in the next card. And then the second special right triangle is the 30, 60, 90 right triangle. And I'm going to label, of course, across from the right angle my hypotenuse, and across from the 30 degree, I'm going to call that my short leg, or short side, doesn't matter. And across from the 60, I'll call that my long leg, or long side. And two very, very important things to remember on this. The hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the short leg. And the long leg is equal to the square root of 3 times the short leg. Those are very, very important to be able to solve the problems that we're going to do today. All right, so let's take a look at an example of a 45, 45, 90 first. So we have here 45, 45, 90 right triangle. And if that's the only angle that's given, we should know that that's a 45, 45, 90 because the angles of a triangle always add up to 180, and I know that's 45 and that's 90. And I'm going to label these using letters just like the homework does, but I'm going to label them some other way too. All right, so this is given in this triangle. And across from the right angle, I'm always going to label that the hypotenuse. And these two are legs, so I'll call that a leg or a side, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to write down everything I know about the 45, 45, 90. I know that the hypotenuse is the square root of 2 times the leg. But in this problem, I know what the leg is. The leg is 25. So I'm going to replace leg with 25. I'll put that first. So the hypotenuse, which is x, is 25 times the square root of 2. And the y, which is my leg, well, that's the same thing. The legs are the same in a 45, 45, 90, so that also has to be 25. Right, and the other type of problem on a 45, 45, 90 is they might give you the hypotenuse, and then I replace this with that value and I solve for leg. And now another problem would be a 30, 60, 90 problem. So suppose we have this triangle. And I'm going to label it. In this problem, I'm going to label this x, this y, and in this case, this side is given here as 20. Now, this is also given as 60 degrees, and this then must be 30. But I'm also going to label it a different way. I'm also going to label this the hypotenuse. And because this over here, this 20 is across from the 60 degree, or the larger of these two angles, I'm going to call this my long leg. So this one then must be my short leg. Now, write down everything that you know. I know that the hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the short leg. And I know that the long leg is equal to the square root of 3 times the short leg. And in these equations, one of these you should know, either the hypotenuse or the short side. If you don't, then you have to solve this one first. Right, and here, I don't have the hypotenuse, and I don't have the short side, so I can't solve this one yet. But I can solve this one because I do know the long side is 20. So I'm going to replace long side with 20. And what I want to solve for is the short side. And to do that, I'm going to have to divide by the square root of 3. So the short side then equals 20 divided by the square root of 3. But the notes from yesterday, I mentioned that you can't have a radical in the bottom, so I'm going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. And you only multiply what's inside a radical, what's also inside, but that's not inside a radical, so I can only write this as 20 times the square root of 3. And the bottom is 3 times 3 is 9, the square root of 9 is just 3. So that's my short side. In this case, my short side was labeled y. So over here I'm going to write y equals, and we just found that to be 20 times the square root of 3 over 3. The next thing that's missing is my x, which is my hypotenuse. So now, because I have the short side right here, I just found that out, I can replace this with 20 times the square root of 3 over 3. And that will help me find the hypotenuse. So I'm going to replace the short with this value here that I just found. So 20 times the square root of 3 over 3. Now 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1. I just multiply straight across here. I can't reduce anything. So 2 times 20 is 40 times the square root of 3 over 3. And that would give me my hypotenuse, which in this triangle is labeled as your x. So it would be 40 times the square root of 3 over 3. Now, what I actually just did was 2 problems from your homework that is due. So take a look at those and see if you got them right, or use that to help you answer those questions. Have a wonderful day. Bye.